Ladies and gentlemen, Hard Nosed Derby Podcast. We're remote.
Sometimes it's nice to be remote a little bit.
This is a local remote.
That's a lot easier. Way less miles, way less gas.
It's about 6 minutes from my house.
We are right in the shop of JM Derby Products.
Yep. Michael White.
Micah, what is going on, sir?
Same old, same old.
I am looking at an overabundance of manufactured aftermarket Derby parts.
Yes. We have talked, we have tried to get somebody up, which NLR, John won't talk.
He will, just not
He will
record.
he will through Snapchat as he's plowing snow.
Or running his loader out of...
Gas.
Or I'm guessing it gelled up is what I figured it happened. Because it's cold up there.
Very cold.
But I'm looking at a cradle, a full cradle, a whole fuck ton of bumpers, and
A metric shit ton.
a metric shit ton, roof signs, switch boxes, wheel centers, rear end bracing.
Which I'm digging the rear end bracing.
Yeah.
I am.
The direction he's going with those that's going to be something. There's an older Ford Motor Company car sitting there beside us as well.
I wasn't going to call it out, but you said what that was. But it's clean.
For its age, yes.
Yes. Yeah, for its age, it is clean. So we're not going to say where he's taking that.
Right.
But in that same token, we've got a guy who's sitting here building aftermarket Derby parts, but is still running.
Right. And hell, how long were we out of the game?
11 years.
How much shit changed in that time period?
Every single thing.
Which 11 years ago, you were running P Hill type of stuff, correct?
P Hill.
Unpleasant Hill.
Some nights very unpleasant. Some nights very good.
That is the thing that I have actually spoken about several times. Is I had never been to Pleasant Hill until this year. So you hear the aura and everything and you watch old school videos of imps, suicides, glass house, deuce and a quarters. Just get folded.
Hey, there were some Mopars over there, too.
Not very many.
There was a few.
There was a few, but I think they got folded about the same way that the rest of them did.
So, back in the day, there were Mopars. A lot of people in this area have heard about Todd Holcomb, Too Bad. Big Mopar guy. That's back in the day when Stan Weir was running the shows. There was people from everywhere that would come to Pleasant Hill. It was nuts to have 175 cars, old iron cars at Pleasant Hill back in the 90s.
But that was always the time where, wasn't that pretty much run what you brung to a certain extent?
No, I think that's right before the run with what you brung entered in. Stan ran a really good show. Barefoot came up a lot of the time and ran.
Any man that has got a nickname of Barefoot, he's either tough as goddamn nails
Or stupid.
or stupid.
Or maybe a combination of both.
Old Barefoot Jim.
And, I've watched him run, quite a bit. That dude, I've seen him win in junk. Just trash.
I'm not saying it was. Here's what I'm going to say. I don't think it was trash. It just didn't look.
Well,
trash.
Whenever I say trash, I'm talking it's not what you're seeing in builds these days. We've talked a bunch about a local here, Justin Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
His shit's not junk. It's just not built.
Correct.
And, I've seen Barefoot at the Missouri State Fair one time crawl out of that car. It still had the factory brake pedal in it.
Probably the factory steering column.
Gas pedal. All that shit. And with a push-pull Shifter.
What do you call it? Pimp stick?
Yeah.
The game has changed so rapidly.
Well, and we've talked to a lot of people, Blizzard Bash quality drivers and shit, and they said that it was like everybody was like, well, it wasn't overnight, but it kind of was. With the aftermarket parts and all that stuff, we've talked so many times on that. Yeah, it was about a 3-year transition on it, but in the Derby world, that's overnight.
Well, Alan Brown said it best on a podcast this summer. Back in I don't think he ever lost a prime because he's Alan Brown, but back in the day when he was younger and really running hardcore, you built it. If you wanted it, you built it. You got the cut and torch out, you got the soapstone out, and you built it. You couldn't get online and order it.
Well, that's what, whenever we were over talking to Justin Hill and Sethler and all those guys, they still
build a lot of this shit. Yeah. And like I said, I looked in Justin's car and I was like, man, that steering shaft's pretty slick. He's like, yeah, I built those.
Yeah.
I was like, holy
a long time
shit.
ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a long time ago.
Yeah.
And that's why it's not a big surprise whenever you see drivers start mass producing, aftermarket parts. If you're already building a shit and somebody wants one, well,
why not take a chance?
I'm a Huckleberry.
To build the stuff and sell, but not cost you anything to make your own stuff.
And I don't know if you've caught the scrutiny yet. I'm sure you will eventually of, well, such and such makes this, such and such makes that. As of right now, in my opinion, I don't think there could be enough people producing this shit.
There's not. And just off the top of my head, Shameless Welding,
Yep.
NLR, Cannonball Derby Products, Impact Derby Products, SMS, Ski, Jeffy's Fab Farm,
Gauge, Ham.
Yeah, you're talking 9 or 10 Colby miners.
Yeah.
Too. So you're talking roughly a dozen guys off the top of my head that are doing this.
Yeah, and just a bullshit figure, just throwing a number out there, 2,500 derbies a year in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
That's one derby a week, per state.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, that would be real fucking close.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just a dumbass that graduated from Paris, but 50 times 50, I believe, is
25.
Yeah. So you're talking roughly a derby a week, every day or every week of the year per state, and you're telling me that 12 guys can't share that.
Mm-hmm. And we all know there's always going to be a builder that's, a building company that you don't hear of. They don't really mass produce. They're not pushed on Facebook, Twitter, social media,
right.
YouTube, whatever. But I'm just going to go ahead and ask, what made you just say, you know what, fuck this. I'm just going to start making my own stuff?
I was like when I got back into it, like I said, everything changed. So what I was used to building 12 years ago is not even close to how you build today. So I'm scratching my head. Well, NLR has this great little thing called a website. I could get right on there, click a button, and order a part. And I was doing it 3 times a week. Last year I was probably their 3rd best customer they had. And I'm like, I'm tired of spending all this money. I went and bought a plasma table. There you go. I'm not spending as much anymore. Now I'm just going to make my own parts. So I started making my own parts, and then, of course, it started kicking into me that, maybe I need to just make a few and sell it and help pay for all this. And that's where we're at.
Well, and another huge thing with, let's just say there's 25 guys out there that's making this stuff. Well, for one, with the amount of local shows that we have, that allows these aftermarket parts, and I'm not saying that, our local shows, some of them, they're not allowing the big rear ends and stuff like that. But, like he was talking, he had to order all that stuff from NLR or A to Z or whatever. Well, you got shipping on that. Well, say I live in Columbia and I want a manufactured bumper. The shipping on that is high as shit. But if I am 50 miles from that bumper, I can jump my pickup.
$9 worth of gas is way better than fucking $400 in shipping.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. I mean, I haven't priced a 400-pound bumper to ship, but I'm sure it's a fucking chunk.
Well, they don't. And then you've got UPS people pissed off at you. But I'm telling you, that convenience factor, and it almost helps the sport because the parts get more readily available. And coming from a buyer-driver standpoint, if there's enough people out there, it will finally push that price down a little bit.
It will.
I had a guy get a hold of me out of Arkansas that's running up in Peoria. And he said, we're running street stock. We don't run that way down home. And he wanted some rear ends. So I built him a couple turnkey 14-bolt rear ends. Well, it just so happened and it lucked out that they were going to Branson. I said, you know what? Great. I'll bring them to you. Me and Jackie can get away for the night. We can go do the Branson thing. And I'll just bring them to you and we'll meet up. And we did that. And he ended up getting a whole nother rear end for what the cost of shipping would have been.
If somebody is willing to drive, we always said that. And now anymore, we're kind of in a centrally located area, which we always have said, we've got so many local shows and local promoters around here. But within a 4-hour drive, dude, we're talking big shit.
Well, yeah,
Blizzard Bash, Whiskey City, Sturgis, Kentucky's 5.5. Peckatonica, Spring X, Mayhem.
The Snowmageddon,
in Iowa.
The
Iowa Team Show.
Yes. T-Bones. You're talking, we're within Hot Springs. Hot Springs is like 6 hours, but.
Iowa 6.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, there's people from here going that way.
Oh, yeah.
And.
How many times do you see on Facebook?
Hey, is anybody going?
Yes, or and they'll show a route. I am taking this route. Yeah. Does anybody need anything? Or I'm going to Wicked Team Show. Anybody need me to bring you back something? And
I know Rob Hewer's going to listen to this, because I've had him pick some shit up for me like a year ago that's still sitting in the shop. So I figured that'd be the first thing that come to his mind. But and Austin Johnson, you see him all the time on there. Here's where I'm headed. Trailer, whatever. I've taken parts out to Blizzard Bash for people. So if you've got that convenience factor around you, it just makes it better for the supplier, the buyer, everybody. And you're not going to get a lot of people that are coming out of, Michigan. That area coming down this direction.
Correct.
There's not a lot of people from up, even, way up north like that goes to Hot Springs.
Unless you're Jason.
Right.
Jason, Ryan, Brian, Narrett,
yes. But I'm talking like the run of your buddy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going that far.
Yeah. And now, which Micah just went to Cornhusker Chaos, and that was his first time vending. So now you are getting all these big shows that are allowing the vendors to come in, set up, sell some parts, pre-order some parts, and now you have so many of these guys, whether it's Micah or Andrew at A to Z or Jason at Ski or Brian at Narrett Demo Parts, you can pre-order that shit and say, hey, I'm going to Blizzard Bash. I'll just pick it up there instead of paying the shipping. Whether John's going to Spring X, all you got to do is say, John.
Well, hell, how many sliders did Corey take with him to?
I think as many as he had actually made in stock.
Yeah. And that's another convenient factor. But I was speaking more on the local side of things. If a guy that doesn't run big shows is sitting around here and they want a manufactured bumper, they are going to have to put in a little footwork to try to have somebody pick it up at the big show, which is way doable. But if you can drive 15 miles up, from Madison or whatever, and pick that bumper up,
Madison, Columbia, Macon,
yes.
Clarence, Shelbina, Leonard, wherever. So what is, Michael, when you decided, hey, I got this, I'm going to get this plasma table, I'm going to start building my own stuff. Did you have a set list of what you planned on building? Or did you just say, hey, I'm going to build this part first and then I'm just going to kind of go from there?
I bought it knowing that I needed to build some bumpers. I didn't really want to pay the price which bumpers are across the board. One time they're $1,200, next time they're $900. They're across the board. But I was going to run a show that allowed 12 plates, kind of local to me. And I thought, I probably really need a good bumper. So I got a hold of some guys in Mexico, and he had a bumper that took my tractor to put it on. But nonetheless, I got it put on. I'm like, this is okay. Now I need more. And that's kind of where the plasma table come in. Sheet metal is expensive, but it's still cheaper than buying the bumper and paying the shipping. That's another huge thing. You can't ever forget that. I shipped a rear end brace to Central Illinois over by Bloomington, Peoria area. I think it's $119 to ship one in. They're 98 pounds. Take a bumper that's twice, maybe 3 times that. It's expensive.
Because it's all dimensional weight.
Yeah.
UPS and FedEx dimensional weight. And then you have if it needs a lift gate,
right,
you get hit with a lift gate fee. Mm-hmm. And then you get a phone call that says, hey, is your facility open to a semi or a lift gate? Right. Well, no, I just live on a city street. Well, we can't drop it there. It needs to be at a facility. So now you're scrounging around. Well, how the fuck am I going to get my bumper that Micah just sent? And I know it's there. I can see it, but I can't see it. So
I created a FedEx account a while back for other things. And one thing FedEx did change was when I set up a shipping label, when I set up a shipment, I have to check whether it goes to a residence or a business. So automatically there I know whether it's a bumper, rear end, or a cradle. They probably wouldn't allow me to ship a cradle built. I'd have to crate it, and it'd be a pain. But they do put them on the regular trucks.
So, first thing that you built was a bumper, and you can go on to JM Derby Products right on Facebook, and you can see everything that he needs to have to accommodate what you are needing. First thing you did was a bumper. And then was the second thing you did was a lower cradle?
LS cradle, yeah.
LS lower cradle, which I know Corey Luddington is always looking for that lower LS cradle. Right. Jordan Wood. I mean, there's so many guys.
Local.
Yes, I mean that's
yeah,
less than an hour away.
Right.
And then you.
Which Corey's a little bit farther.
Yeah. Laclede is a little bit more of a haul. So you just decided, what else are we going to build? And I'm looking at a sweet ass switch box.
I have my hand in that one. I'm not going to lie on that. Because I don't run, all the time. And I've burnt 2 switch boxes up that pissed me off. I mean, no other way to cut it. And I know other people that have that problem. I'm not cutting down anybody's product at all. It didn't work for what I wanted it to do.
Correct.
I didn't like the design. Cy, our safety guy, he actually enjoys wiring shit. I mean, he does. He likes electricity, I guess. But so he kind of hit the drawing board on that shit. And these deeper boxes allow for more wiggle room with all the wires. The rails in them are fucking killer. Zero maintenance to them whatsoever, and convenience. You know, if you're getting out of a car and you break a toggle switch off or whatever, you don't have to scramble around. Well, how the fuck do I fix this? You know, I didn't wire this up. You know, it was sent to me wired up. You lay the top off of it. There's enough wires in there. Get your screwdriver out, change your toggle switch, put the bitch back together.
You're not having to go through a kind of a hornet's nest of wiring.
Right. 100%.
With that board in there.
Right.
Which, if you want to see the board, all you got to do is go to JM Derby
Yeah.
Products on Facebook, and you will actually see a photo of the box taken apart to see the interior of this, to show you how low maintenance it actually is.
Well, and like I said, I know that deep box, people are, you know, it does take up a little bit more room. It does. But you don't have stress on wires where they're pushed together and all that shit. And honestly, whenever Cy come up with the design that he wanted to do, we all kind of looked at it. Micah kind of took it and run with it, because you can add to these switch boxes. No problem. You know, because the
secondary ignition switch, a
whatever you
secondary
wanna do.
fuel pump switch.
Yeah.
So
Because they're selling them two ways, right?
two ways, yeah. Steven told Cy to come talk to me about it, and me and Steven and Cy were out here one night, and Cy sat down and laid out the first box, and with a little fine tweaking, he has really come up with, I'm just going to go on record and say, probably the best box on the market, just because of the fact it's individually wired. It's got a positive and negative rail built inside of it. It's so simplified yet easy. You can just lay it open and it's right there. I told Cy through a couple different nights of putting our heads together, we're going to make a few changes on it, which he agreed with me. We're going to put some 50 amp toggles in it. Most common thing in a box is burned up toggles. I had a guy yesterday order a box that we're going to make that is 6 toggles and 2 push buttons. Come out to a little over $200. However, it's going to give him everything he ever wants.
In that same instance is what he figured out. If you are running big stuff, 40-minute heats, 50-minute heats, and you have an issue of motor dying, you push that button so much, it says fuck it.
Right.
So now he's going to be able to convert to the second push button fresh.
Well, if you look back at just some of the bullshit that, you know, we were talking where the driver was building their own stuff, the original switch box that I had was what Mike was talking. It was a double push button with 250 amp toggles and a master on it. I mean, it was perfect. I never had to worry about it. I did have one of the start switches fail on me at one derby, but
Got a
reach
second
above
one.
it.
Got a second one.
Because I'm telling you right now, I don't give a shit who it is, what driver it is, what caliber of driver you are, builder, whatever. You've had that issue. You have had
There's
an
not a
electric.
driver out there that hasn't had that
You
issue.
have had an electrical issue that's taken you out of a derby.
Trey, Blizzard Bash, middle of the track,
Yep.
electrical.
Yep.
I understand it was a battery,
Right.
but
Still, yeah.
you know, it rolled over for 4 days, moving in and out of tech barns and whatnot.
Yeah.
And we spoke on it. It's not something that was a cheap
No.
shithole battery. It was an Optima, good,
Yeah.
and it just said, you know what, I'm out.
I'm out.
So you have went. So you're. This is a full cradle
Yeah.
as
That's
well.
a small ball cradle.
Chevy small block cradle, full cradle, for all you light weld or mod guys out there.
I don't know that anybody has really got to see that cradle yet.
It hasn't been on Facebook yet, has it?
It's on there.
Is it on there?
Yeah.
Actually, we got a raffle on it right now.
Because it's
That's right.
It's something. I don't know that it's neat because it's a laminated cradle, which is, I mean, it's fucking cool. Go check it out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's you. They call them a waffle.
Yeah, it's a fucking raffle.
It's a raffle. But you have, how many spots do you still have left? So hopefully by when this airs, hopefully the raffle's full and then you'll be drawn on it. But
yeah, I just threw it up the other day. Shared it to a couple sites. I think we got 9 or 10 left still.
So they're out there. So, but you've also got, I mean, you know, Stephen hit it off. You've got roof signs, bumpers, lower cradles, full cradles.
So right now I have about 40 different products. We're doing Watts conversion kits. We're doing all thread shocks, rear ends, roof signs, full centers, just regular centers. Oh gosh.
We're not putting them on the spot.
Bead locks, rim guards.
You would think that somebody that was coming on our podcast would have a list or something.
Right. Front bumpers, rear bumpers. There's, I think, 6
Distributor clamps.
distributor clamps. We're getting ready to make pinion brackets
For pinion brakes.
Yeah.
for pinion brakes.
And I think we're going to go a couple different directions with the pinion brake thing. Because, you know, there's not a lot of these stock shows that allow where you can actually.
Weld the clamp onto the rear end.
Right. So we're working in a direction toward the more of a bolt-on. You know.
To facilitate the hobo
Yeah.
stock rules.
Yeah.
Last episode we had Mr. Huff from Showtime Officials on, and we hammered him pretty good on some rule stuff.
I didn't get to hammer that dude as hard as I wanted to.
Did you feel bad at that point in time?
No, because I found out that he didn't write his rules.
Correct.
I will get an opportunity. I'm not going to say who wrote them, but I will have him on here.
Then you're not going to feel so bad. Just
Not at all. Not even a little bit.
not even a little bit.
He's one of my really good friends, too.
So you got to go to Cornhusker Chaos.
Yes.
Heard the show was really good.
Amazing. They drove balls to the wall from the get-go. The light weld teams, the show was crazy.
How did you enjoy your first show as a vendor as well?
I really did. I took a lot of stuff, but I sold a lot too. Constantly had people in and out. It kind of helps when you're set up right next to A to Z. So then they kind of trickle over to me.
Correct. Hey, let's see what this guy's new. Let's see what he's got.
So we took some used parts that, you know, I've bought out since I got back into this in September. I've bought out 3 or 4 or 5 people. I've had an overabundance of used dirty parts.
And the cocksucker won a huge round.
Waffle.
Yeah.
Well, it was okay.
It was okay. Wasn't that a couple different cars and maybe a motor and training and rear end? I mean, it was ready to.
I've been trying to slide this Coyer out of here.
It was 4 or 5 truck and trailer loads of stuff.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I was out here stripping on my car, and he just kept pulling in with more shit and more shit. I mean, I seen a crate, you know, those like chemical tubs. Mm-hmm. You know, takes a forklift to pick up. 2 of them shits, plumb full of front suspension parts.
Oh my.
Box Ford front suspension parts.
Oh my. What do you always say? Better be lucky than good.
100%. I don't always say that. That is a direct quote from Rocky.
Which we were doing some talking before we hit the start button. One thing that came out last month was Gladiators of Steel.
Yes.
We hit on
I don't
this.
think Micah he hasn't got to see it.
He hasn't got to watch it yet. We were hitting on this thing about the time where Border Wars, when we spoke on Border Wars in Nebraska, they were really pushing it. So if you guys watch that on the live feed from the Nebraska boys, instead of a Mad Dog, they called it a Gladiator. So you got a Gladiators of Steel hat. They bring you up, and Gumby and Cody and them guys would, interview you, talk, how the night went for you. Dudes, you can go to wheelhousetv.com.
Yep.
And it's $14.95. It is 6 episodes, roughly 45 minutes long, plus some bonus content.
There is a family-friendly version.
And then there's an uncut version. Most of y'all know us enough that we're going with the uncut version. We did not watch the family-friendly one. We were actually talking to, there's been some other stuff. Kings of Crash.
Lucas Oil had that.
Yeah, Lucas Oil had that thing on Lucas Oil TV or Mav TV or whatever it was. Guys, this is mostly about Sin City Showdown, the first show in Las Vegas that they had. They break it down about a shit track.
Yep.
The Stern Dirt officials were pissed because they worked on this track. But you got some real dudes in real cars that went to that show.
Well, the thing that I liked about the direction they took that series in was it was raw.
Mm-hmm.
It was, you could tell it wasn't scripted.
Correct.
It was them asking real questions. You were getting the hard-hitting answers, that whether it be the good or the bad for the promoter, and they were taking it. I mean, and they did.
yeah.
They were answering the questions. You could definitely tell that nothing was held back.
I mean, Shea Bob Walden was getting interviewed with a natty in his hand.
I can't believe that.
Todd Siopa said, this is Derbian is the best drug out there. And he even said, back in the day, he did them all. Right. He did all the good ones, and this is still so much better than the past stuff.
And Gumby, his description of Derbian was one of my favorites, where he said it's like deer hunting, but you give the deer a gun
to shoot back. Yeah. It is something cool as shit to check out. It gets a little bit more in depth of Derek Shelley and his daughter. Yep. How she has started into this game, but how Papa Bear will cover the bear cub when need be. I don't want to give away a whole bunch of stuff because I do want you guys to go check that shit out because it is cool stuff.
And honestly, you don't have to be a seasoned derby driver to watch it.
Oh, no.
Even if you're just a fan, spectator, whatever, it's definitely worth taking a look at.
It makes you cringe on a lot of the in-car footage, GoPros. One old boy got his head stuck between the tranny cooler and the seat. He got hit so hard.
Which I had seen that on YouTube, I think.
Yes, like a little trailer of it. But that just shows you the progression of us dumbass rednecks.
We know how to run a TV.
Doing stuff that used to be frowned upon.
Yeah.
And how everybody getting together is bringing the sport of demolition derby to the forefront that, hey, maybe we're all kind of a little screws loose or loose end, but making it where everything is just coming to light.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And now you get all these guys like Micah and John Toast Brian, Jason, all these guys that are trying to facilitate that, so you don't have to go buy a $500 factory 76 Impala bumper and fucking junk it
Every
in 2
3
shows.
Yeah.
That sucks. But what these guys are actually doing now is they are being able to facilitate different rule sets. Gage quit building bumpers for an extended period of time because of the cost of the T1 steel that he is using got so fucking outrageously high. So he waited, let it come back down a little bit, and now Gage is building his bumpers again.
But we do have to give Gage a little bit of credit. There are some nasty motherfucking bumpers.
They're nasty. It's just got to be that Amish polishing.
And you can call me gay or whatever. They're beautiful.
They are.
Them motherfuckers are a work of art.
Yes. But these things sitting back here behind me.
Fucking Kelby's bumpers are badass too.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
Them shits are pretty.
Yep. Yeah. And these, like, sitting right here behind me, they look good as shit. Micahs are painted.
Yep.
But the steel, the quality of it, the welding, the seams, I mean, you don't have, I don't think in this day and time anymore that you have to worry about how many times I've seen bumpers break in half. Manufactured bumpers snap in the middle.
And if you look in like, Gage's bumpers, the ones that Corey's building, Micah's, there's so many gussets in them now. If you're breaking that shit, you're done.
You need to learn how to drive in fucking reverse.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're breaking these types of bumpers. But now, in that same instance, you build 2 different sizes, correct? You build, is it 1/4 and 3/8?
We can, 1/4 and 3/8.
So he can accommodate to the 1/4 inches more of the stock build, without a 14-inch bumper bracket or 964 miles of plates.
Right.
Like back in the day.
Well, and whenever you're running that no plate show, that you are allowed that manufactured bumper, you don't have 700 pounds hanging off the front of it,
Then you have them nosing down, ripping shit apart.
Frame rails doing weird shit. And without a bumper bracket, honestly, we've talked about this a lot. You get much over that 3/8 thickness without a bumper bracket. You're only as strong as what you're welding to.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have that bumper bracket, you're welding straight to the end of the frame. We've seen it. Oh, his bumper fell off. He couldn't weld. No, it ripped the front of the fucking frame.
Because I promise you, Dalen Brown can weld.
Right.
I promise you, Cody and Alan Brown can weld.
Yeah.
Did the Browns lose a bumper?
Dalen lost a bumper.
Well, he lost frame rails and shit.
And core support.
Yeah.
And all sorts of shit just hanging off there. So that type of shit is going to happen.
But I'm just saying that's where that lighter option on that stalker build comes into play.
So, he hasn't talked about motor mounts yet. I don't know if he's going to branch off, for some motor mounts.
He talked about that a little bit. They're so readily available.
They are.
Everybody makes them, and the prices on them are fair. Can I make them? Yeah.
They ship easy anyway.
I don't know that I want to.
He's going to make mine.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you what I had good luck with. When I went out to Chaos, I took, I think, 10 sets of hump plates. And they were the first things gone.
And one of the easiest things to make.
Pretty easy. They're formed. They fit great. They have some holes cut in them for some, stress welding throughout the plate.
Little plug weld.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think he picked a great place to go. Beginning of the year.
Well, why not get your feet wet?
Correct. Nebraska, where a lot of the Nebraska guys are not so much mod builders, but there's a shitload of light welds, when you get, goddamn.
Yeah.
You get so many dudes. Yeah. You got so many dudes, and guess what? They're getting ready for border wars.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah. Which have you even like done any talking around about to anybody about Border Wars?
I've heard
that shit. I think it's.
I think Missouri is going to actually have.
I think it's damn near full, or may be full.
Well, that's a great big change from last year when they took one guy,
right?
Or one dude went up by himself. But.
And we talked to several different people about that. Some of the drivers around there didn't like the format.
Correct. When you got 20 guys per state, if you go 5 states, because is Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota?
Something like that. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I'd have to look back on that shit.
Yeah. We don't want to offend no fact checkers. But you're talking 100-car derby. They're taken away from a team setting, but still in a team setting.
Right. And I understand the randomness of it, which is cool in some aspects. But if you're putting together that big of a team show, in my opinion, you need to let them work as a team.
At least guaranteed a couple of you in each.
Well, because and I may catch some shit over this. You're going to have stronger and weaker competitors coming from the same state.
Fuck yes.
I understand that that's not the promoter's issue.
Nope.
And that because if I was putting on that show, I'd be like, well, I didn't build your fucking car. I've said that shit before. But it's fully random. I mean, it really is. And I can see where in a team setting you wouldn't want total randomness. And we made them play the random game at our Mother's Day show. We did heat draw right before they pulled on the fucking track.
Oh, yeah. And they had enough
There
time
was no time for politics at that point.
Go get your shit.
Yeah. I mean, and because you could have talked to somebody and been running with them, but you might draw them bitches right off the jump.
Yep.
And it happened.
Yeah. And not from the call-out sense. Because there was some call-outs, but there was nothing in big car. There was one, I believe.
And there was a few call-outs, and there was some little bitches that didn't take the call-outs.
Correct. Because I think a couple of them maybe got called out multiple times and didn't take either call-outs. So
now, there was a big car call-out, and they took it.
They did.
Yep.
Yeah. They was like, let's get it on. That's one way to...
But that's where 2 barrels of nuts met. They got the call out and did not give a fuck. There was no hesitation.
Oh, no. And there was some fucking junk made.
Oh, yeah.
But then there's always that chance, man, you could draw your buddy.
Uh-huh.
And we spoke on that several times.
I think that's why I like that call out.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you all might be better than we are. But I'd rather be lucky than good.
Yep.
I'll take that chances on that call out rather than drawing my buddy.
Because we spoke to buddies that none of them were going to break off.
No.
They're like, no, we're here to get it the fuck on.
We're going to do it.
Yeah, and we're just going to make jump. And
we saw that happen.
Yeah, we saw some shit junked in the heat.
Oh, yeah.
Uriel Walker drew a heat with Gurnigan. I mean, Gurnigan shit was way snooted, front and back, looking like a banana, under a street stock build. Not a stock build that you would say, well, that's going to happen. On something with 14 inches of bumper bracket, cages buried to the packet tray.
Oh, yeah.
And plates.
8 of the bitches.
8 plates, and I mean, just look like a V.
Yeah.
So it's. I just wish Rob would.
But it's working.
It is.
Because not everybody's got the same opinion we do.
Correct. I just wish he would maybe listen to, because I think some drivers have reached out.
But it's just like any other big show that you look at in that sense. Do you penalize do you penalize 60 guys over what 15 want to do?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that like the format. I mean, what do you think? You've looked at it. What's your opinions on it? I mean, from a driver's standpoint.
I come from Pleasant Hill. I like to weld a lot. That's my problem. I think stock should be stock, and I think street stock should jump up to light weld. Total different builds, completely different. The problem you run into a lot of times is street stock and stock there's that fine, super fine gray area where there's not much difference.
Well, and we run into that with our stock to street stock because there was not a lot of difference there. I mean, you were talking a braced rear end and bumper brackets.
Right.
And a couple plates.
Yeah, a few more plates. But in that same token, I mean, other than...
But there's a lot there. If you look at that, there's a fucking... That's a drastic change. Not a lot of money change, but those are two totally different fucking cars.
Just like Denny Weaver always ran our stock stuff until Halloween Havoc, and he put his extra plates on. He put a bumper bracket on it and ran with his regular rear end.
Right.
He didn't hurt any axles. No. He didn't hurt any rear end.
Nope, and that...
But he finished that bitch.
Yes, he did. Very much so. Well, let's change gears. Everybody's getting ready for Whiskey City. We did a road to Blizzard Bash. Let's start on Whiskey City.
We have talked about Whiskey City so much. Something that we're actually forgetting about is the Wicked Team Show in Sturgis, Kentucky is the same weekend as Peoria. We talked to Mr. Swags himself a few episodes back. He didn't get a spot at Whiskey City, so he's going to a team for Brandon at the Wicked Show. I'm not going to lie. I have been in contact with Brandon quite a bit. His work schedule is stupid crazy. But
we're going to get him on here.
Yeah, he's going to be on here hopefully next week. Hopefully next week's episode is what I'm really hoping. Because we're wanting to get him lined out for before, Wicked. We have talked so many times. Everybody who went to Peoria last year loved it. The tunnel experience, the track size, Big Al Steakhouse, which we are going to visit. My little asshole son is going with us, but he's staying in the hotel while we go to Big Al's.
You're not going to give him a steak?
He can have room service. But I'm actually sitting here at the table with two guys who are going to Whiskey City.
You're going?
Not me.
Oh.
I'm going.
But you ain't going.
But I'm not going. Mike is going as well. You got a stock spot?
I got a bone stock spot.
Not the street stock spot that you were hoping for.
Yeah, you were an hour late on that.
I tagged you as soon as I saw it. That just shows you. I mean, any spot will come. If it comes up, it's gone.
To be fair, if another one pops up, I'll have two spots.
Working on two cars? That would suck. But guess what? No heats. One and done.
Yes.
One and done. So, other than having to go through a tech with Chris Williams and Cordell Hansen, which might really suck for somebody.
I think I finally got my agenda down for when I'm going to take off. I'm going to take off after Lish gets off work Thursday. And I'm going to mosey out that direction. That way, because I think I've got to be in the tech line by 10 o'clock Friday morning.
Yeah.
So we're going to go out there, at least drive most of the way, get within 30 minutes and roll in.
Yep.
Friday, get unloaded, get settled in. Pass tech on the first time.
Hold on. I just said Chris Williams and Cordell Hansen.
I don't know how to cheat. And I don't let Micah touch my car.
He told me he's going to take the welder away from me.
I've seen what he showed up to or with at our
In Paris.
Quit welding, motherfucker.
What are I know what you're taking, and I'm not gonna ask
Metric GM, man.
bullshit.
83 Caprice.
84.
Two-door Cadillac.
No.
79
Caprice.
two-door Cadillac. Give it a little bit of something up there on the nose. Man, what... Going from being out of the game for so long to coming back in, running quite a bit of street stock stuff that you got to run this fall. What are you
attempted
to?
I was giving him shit the other day. I said, you ran 9 fucking derbies last year at a combined total of 6 minutes. It cost fucking.
It cost some chunk. Yeah, that one
one.
chunk at Shelbina. That was oof.
Thanks, Dino.
Yeah, thanks, Dino.
What are you looking forward to the most going to Peoria?
Transmission staying in his car.
Did you have to get closer to the mic for that? So, you know, honestly, I've told Steven this 100 times. It's going to be hard to build that car. Like, that's going to be challenging because I do have a plasma machine. I have a plasma cutter. I have 3 welders. It's going to be hard to put that shit down. So honestly, building a Bowden stock cart, it is going to be a challenge. You know what I run into last year was I got back into derbying via going too fast in the race car. That's where it all stemmed from. And I was buying people's pre-ran cars and running them. I didn't build a single car last year. So it was a huge learning curve. Back when I used to run, there was no such thing as pressuring in a car. I had no clue what that even meant. Well, you send Dalen a couple messages, you send Cody a couple messages, CJ Barnes, you gave him a call, and you try to put together what everybody tells you pressuring it in is. So I would be out here by my lonesome in the shop, and I'd pressure it in. I'd go derby and make 2 hits, and the transmission would be in my lap, or in the trunk, or on the track.
Yeah.
Every time, 5 transmissions I went through. Well, hindsight's always 20/20. I realized after the derby season what the problem was. I was pressuring it in like 9 inches. I had 3 quarter powers pushing the car, stretching it out. And I locked it in so damn tight. It just took 1 hit and it was over.
You know, that's why we have talked so much. There was guys wanting to say, well, make it where you can't lock your transmission in. You know, or that's why you've always said you can lock it in. You're taking that chance of snapping.
Get it? Well,
yeah.
And what's it to me?
Correct.
And
you're not buying the transmissions.
It cost me. I thought I was doing what had to be done to compete, but I didn't realize everything extra that you had to have to do that. And again, it cost me 5 transmissions. And
I talked to him after Shelbina, and he was like, that made me look like a fucking idiot.
I'm going to tell you one thing about Shelbina. Dino had his 5 minutes. I get my 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I knew my car was pretty hard. And then I spent 2.5 hours with a cutting torch, ran out of oxygen, then went to Junior's car and finished cutting. I still felt like my car was kind of hard, but I'm going to tell you this. Dino's car was hard. He said it, I'm going to say it. When we met there, it hurt. It hurt. For my car, more ways than one.
Yeah. Yours was more monetary hurt than physical hurt,
and a little bit of pride.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. When I come barreling off that berm and split between them 2 cars, I'm like, all right, I'm back in this.
Yep.
And I spun around, and there he was.
Yeah, it was quick. It was quick.
Well, that's what Dino said. He was like, I knew it was going to be the end of both of us. He was like, but it was that shot.
Yeah, and you had to take it. And the thing was, that's my first Derby back in 11 years. When I got out of Derbying, I was so pissed. I didn't go to a Derby for probably 6-7 years. Didn't want anything to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I gradually started going to a few. You know, I get a phone call, hey, Pleasant Hill is going to be awesome this year. Or this fall show is going to be awesome. All right, well, we'd go watch it. We'd watch one or two. Went to Palmyra out of the blue to the team show about 4 or 5 years ago. And then this year, I went and watched, I don't know, 6 or 8. And Jackie had, I'm not going to say nicely, but she told me to get rid of the damn race car. Somebody's going to get killed in it. And they probably were. I said, the only way I'm getting rid of the race car is if I trade it for Derby parts. And she said, absolutely. We can take the kids. I enjoy watching it. Don't ever ask me to help. Don't ever ask me to get in the car, but go for it. So I posted up on Facebook and ended up finding what I felt like was the right deal, and I traded the car for Derby stuff. He found out after, I think, the second time of driving it that the car wasn't for him either, and it's since switched hands. It was too much car. And here I am. So I tried at the very end of the year to get as many runs as I could in by buying pre-ran cars and changing out rear ends and motors and trains and whatever else.
Well, there was a couple of the pre-runs that he run. They're not cutting down anybody's build.
It was a whole different area.
Yeah.
Different rules, different area.
Now, he did end up with one mod car that was fucking right.
Yeah.
Way right.
Yeah.
But there was a couple of, like, the street stock pre-ran that he got. I'm not saying it was a horrible build. Plate placement on it wasn't what I would have done. And I think he learned that after he ran it the first time. Just it wasn't set up for what it needed to be.
The plate placement on it was wrong. Are you talking about Showliner?
Yeah.
When I met Dino on that hit, not once did my bumper come detached from either frame rail. But my cradle twisted so bad, it broke every bolt off the block, and the lower cradle went sideways through the oil pan and exploded the training.
It pushed the driver's side rail so fucking hard.
Oh, God. Worse than I've ever seen in my life.
And that car, how many plates did that car have on it? It had 8 on it, right?
It had a few more than 8 when we got done cutting. I think it had 6.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was on air or not. Cody Hendren.
Yeah.
Everybody kept saying, "Man, he's come so far," from what he started out. Cody told me most all of that was placement.
Yeah.
On the old irons, especially.
Well, everybody that you talk to, it's a running argument between drivers and builders where to put plates.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way one guy builds his car is to his driving style. So the plate may not need to go in the exact same spot on every car for every driver or builder. And I know that everybody's going to be like, well, it's the same fucking car. That doesn't matter. I know myself, just what I run. Like I said, it's not a bunch. I won't ever, say that I'm the best fucking person out there. I know that I've got a horrible habit of loading the passenger rail. Terrible about it. About every fucking car that I've run, I've loaded the passenger rail on. So I pay more attention whenever I'm putting my plates and shit. Because honestly, on that last Mopar that I built that I took to Quincy, whenever it did finally come up, it come up really stupid because I had the plates set up different on the passenger side than I did the driver's side.
Well, and here's something for that too. The Browns. I think it's been said over and over they probably know how to build a car. I went to Pleasant Hill.
Just a little bit.
A little.
And I looked at Cody and Dalen's car for a very, very long time. Over an hour probably. And I burned in my brain where they put every plate.
Mm-hmm.
And I came home with a pre-ran that I was going to take to Vandalia. And I mimicked what they did to their car. And it worked. I'm not going to say it didn't work, but we drive totally different.
Mm-hmm.
Me from the Browns. And they spend a lot more time picking their shots where I'm nobody. You know, I'm getting slung around on the track and I'm just taking whatever shot I can get. So even though I placed my plates exactly where theirs was, I still bent funny.
Mm-hmm.
I had to come home and add plates for Paris. And if I wouldn't have, I was screwed.
Correct.
That's the one and only derby I didn't lose a tranny. The only one. My steering just fell off going down the middle of the track.
Yep. That's why we have said so much, whether it's Dalen, Cody, Allen, CJ, Adam Lemonazer, Jake Benners, Rob and Trey, and
Twitchell.
Teddy. They all drive different.
Yep.
They all will still build different, even though Cody, Allen, and Dalen's cars are building out of the same shop. I promise you, Dalen's plates will be different from where Cody's is, and Cody's will be different from Allen's.
Well, and I mean, I've seen it firsthand. I'm not going to say, anything farther than that, but Rob and Trey, they do shit different.
Different, yes. Yeah.
I mean, and then, you've got Teddy and Tommy and all those guys, they do shit different,
Mm-hmm.
And
those
everybody
Cadillacs,
is trying
like whatever, Caddy Nation's out there, I guarantee you that not everything is identical across the board on those cars.
No.
And they won't be. And that's why whenever somebody goes and looks at another person's car, it's not always beneficial.
No. There's always that difference. I mean, driving styles, like you said, is a lot of it.
Yeah.
I mean, like you'll see Cody chill, you'll see Dalen chill, you would see CJ chill. Somebody might get on it a little quicker.
Right.
You spoke so much earlier this year that Rob had kind of flipped a switch. You didn't know if it was midlife crisis or what. Where Rob would be a lot more calculated, chilling, hanging back.
Well, we seen Rob run a lot of fair shows this year.
Yes.
I mean, a shitload.
Yes.
And him and Trey's driving style, both of them changed.
Mm-hmm.
They were having fun.
Yeah.
I mean, they were straight up going out there to have fun. And, I talked to Rob and them whenever we did our New Year's deal. And Rob said he had a fucking blast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because there was that, he come to Paris and fuck, they didn't even place.
No.
But he said he had a fucking blast
Yep.
out there just turning it up.
Yep.
He said that Boone County was a blast. And that dude was driving the wheels off that car.
Yep. That's just, I'm going to say it. He's got a midlife crisis.
You can take that as a right.
So, we got Peoria coming up. We have Wicked Team Show coming up the same weekend. I'm looking at your car.
Best car I've ever built.
We get to work on your car as soon as this thing is done.
And you should be able to vouch more than anybody because everybody's been giving me shit about it. I've taken more time on this car than I ever have on any car. It's got better parts than I've ever had in anything. And honestly, time frame to Derby wise, it's closer than any car I've ever had.
Oh, I promise you that shit.
I mean, we are within the week of it,
Mm-hmm.
of it being
Oh, yeah.
ready to rock.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, like you said yesterday, you've got past that hump. Now you're starting the fun stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like we're on the fun build side of things now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've never stripped a car down this far. I know that's going to sound ridiculous to some people, but I mean, I took time and stripped this motherfucker. Like I had the leaf pack and shit out of it yesterday, making sure that everything was right. We've moved, brackets on rear ends and shit. Like I've never worried about a pinion angle since I've been building.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be something totally different. That I'm sure something ignorant will happen as soon as I pull on the track. Fucking
don't jinx yourself already, dude.
Tire will fall off or something. But
no, gotta be positive.
And you know what? I'm gonna finish that car, and I'm gonna pull my Peoria car in. It'll be done in 3 days. He'll still be building this car.
I don't live in his fucking shop.
No, but you could.
100%. This is a bad bitch.
Yeah, I could.
I walked in that
His fucking shop. His shop bathroom is
nicer
than my two ones in my house. So other than Peoria, do you have any set plans to run, or are you really going to worry more about pushing the part sales?
So I think they both kind of come in hand. One thing I've talked about with people, whether it's people over Facebook or, meeting up for parts, or whether it's people out here bullshitting, the best way for me to get my name out there is to run, and to run my parts.
But you got to run longer than
4 minutes. Right.
Just kick him in the dick, why don't you?
So obviously that
knew the
car
shit
right
was
there,
coming.
I'm hell. I mean, everybody already knows about it. That Suicide's going to be a local show. There's a promoter. We won't say the name because
nah, it's all right.
I'm going to run that Suicide at J&B. I did get a Pecatonica spot. I got a River City Rampage spot. I have the Whiskey City spot. So I'm going to run them 3 big shows. Probably a new style, I'm not sure. But I've also got an 03 and a 98 02 sitting outside just really begging to come inside.
Just itching.
Well, the 03, we've already got the rear end and shit stuffed under it.
Yeah. And I've got all the suspension parts to change it over. It's just getting that car done and getting the parts in. I'm going to run quite a bit this year. I do want to run some big shows. And everybody you talk to, whether it's Robin, Trey, or Cody and Dalen, and that's kind of where everybody's going. And with the...
I'm telling you, it's because of the fucked up rules.
With the nightmare on rules, that's what you got to do.
Somebody said it.
I mean,
It is. And you ask Huff. The 8 minutes after he posted his rules, I sent them to Teddy. I sent them to a couple other guys. And I messaged Huff and I said, are you trying not to have people at your shows or what? And we spent 2 days going back and forth. But they're going to do what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think that it's going to hurt the car count to a point. I've been in contact with Daryl, or what's Flowers' name? Is it Daryl? Derek Flowers. I've got a car outside in the yard that's, every time I walk by it just gives me a mean mug. I mean bad. It really wants to come out and play. And it's a super, super, super hard car.
which that shit come from down there, though.
Yeah.
It did come from down there. Oh, yeah. And it's a very, very well-known car.
Right.
And he said, hey, we have a mod show at every one of our shows.
Mm-hmm.
Get it together and bring it. I'm waiting on him now to let me know how many shows. I'd hate to bring it in for one show, but...
Correct.
Yeah, because he had some bad fucking luck with shows the last couple of years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm not pointing fingers at anything on that. Just he had some places drop him. He had another promoter come in, and I'm not gonna say hijack or steal a show, but got hit. A show that he had been doing. I think that fair board was just wanting to go a little bit different direction.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that shit. I mean, it happens.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about it. Promoters, they're on about a 4 or 5 year time frame and you're phased out.
Well,
But I've also told Micah, since he's now on this side of the river in this local area, he's got to get out of that heavy built mindset because it doesn't work here. There's
habits are hard to break, though. I mean, just like he said, he's going to Whiskey City for a stock show.
And we talked to Teddy about it. We talked to him about the heavier built cars because he doesn't mind. He likes the light weld stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He does. He likes the amount of runs you can get out of the cars. The ladder of the repair time. And they do, but you don't see the amount of that
anymore. Yeah.
And do I think it'll come back? Yeah, but it's going to be a minute. I think we will see some heavier shit at some of these shows this summer because I think after they first start out and we get to junk in some of these stock build rules, they're going to be looking for a car count. And I think there's going to be some money thrown around.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's going to be some heavier built cars out there. Again, that's all speculation on my end. Just from what I've watched the last 4 years of us doing the shit, it all comes back. Everybody sees the writing on the wall. I'd like to think that everybody sees the writing on the wall. If your car counts are lacking, I watched it in July 2 years ago. My car count was just like, oh, fuck, we were light. Like real light.
Yeah.
What can I do to fix that? And I'm like, well, look at all these fucking light weld cars or, these street stock cars that are laying around out there. We don't have class for them. No, we'll fix that.
Yep.
And when I got into Durbin and the years I did Derby you had two builds. We had about 3 or 4 shows over in Illinois that was hardened. If you build it, you're running. It didn't matter what it was, just bring it. Pleasant Hill was 40 inches of plate and kickers. David Birch used to bring big heavy over all the time. You could run imps, you could run suicides. There's a couple other shows that you just kind of showed up with your car and.
Which in the late 90s, we've seen that around here.
But in the same token, Bubby Johns would call me, or whoever would call me and say, hey, come over to Missouri. Okay. Well, it was a Big George show. It was stock. You weld the doors together, put 4-point cage in it, you win. So you had that 3-day build and that, 3-week build. And to me, it was the heavier the car, the funner it was.
Yeah. Just
because you had to, on a stock show, you have to be a driver. You have to watch what shots you're taking, what shots you're giving.
Easy now, you're admitting.
Oh, I can't drive. I guarantee you that I can't drive.
But we seen that mod around here, and it had its 3 or 4 year run. We seen it. Madison had the mod class. Shelvina had the mod class. Salisbury was running mod. They're Moberly.
Troy.
Yeah, we got to see those heavy built cars, and they phased themselves out just like everything else in the sport does.
Well, I got a message this morning. I figured we can hit off on it. Somebody is wanting to know who is taking over our shows, or if anybody was taking over our shows.
Somebody is. A couple of them.
Yes.
I'm not going to say who it is.
I tried to tell them. Paris was just us. Paris didn't do
that was something that was out of my pocket. But
yes. But I
you
did.
Won't. I don't think you'll see a Derby in Paris again unless we decide to do it again. Just because I don't see anybody wanting to go in there and do what we had to do.
So I told him that there was should be some announcements coming out shortly. I'm hoping. First thing they ask is, it's Filthy Promotions.
No.
I said, no. He was like, damn. Because of the rules.
As long as the stars align the way I think they're going to, everybody will be super happy with the direction it's going. because there's going to be a lot of that whole right-click, copy and paste.
Mm-hmm.
The person that has shown interest in what we were doing, that wants it, fucking killer guy.
Oh, yeah.
I would trust him with
yes.
any show that I was putting on.
Yeah.
Because the dude will wholeheartedly put everything he's got into it.
Yep.
You won't find a more fair person and a more genuine person. So when everybody comes out there, it'll be like, oh, well, yeah, no, I agree.
So I'm thinking he needs to start putting some feelers out there.
He is still doing some soul searching. I've got him in contact with the people he needs to be in contact with. As far as a couple fair boards that we dealt with. My insurance guy. I told him he could have all of our equipment. Just come get it. I'll load him up. I said I probably got enough sticks and tape and all that shit to put on 3 shows.
Yeah. She's shaking her head. She done lost her fucking tape.
Where in the fuck is the tape?
So.
But that's going to be exciting. I really hope that comes to light sooner than later.
Because I know a lot of the guys around here who run our stuff, they listen to this weekly. So guys, just kind of start paying attention. I think some stuff will probably
We still are
out
in the early part of January. I mean, I know that everybody, I get it, because if I was a builder of most calipers that you guys are, I would want to start building my car too. Mm-hmm. But just hang tight. Give it a second.
Yep.
Breathe. Breathe.
They don't like to breathe.
As of right now, it's looking like there's going to be 3 or 4 of them that are going to be good rules. An added class is what I heard.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to like that. I think that the fair boards that they'll be working with will let them run with what their ideas are. Because I fully put my word on it to the 2 fair boards that I talked to. I said, give it to them.
Yeah.
Let them have it.
Yep. So
there was one thing before we get off here that I wanted to touch on, and I want to hit on. I'm going to ask Micah our normal questions before we get off here, but we need some more out-of-state people to message us about their local shows. I want to pull back on the big show stuff because we're going to be covering that shit all summer.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be talking about big shows all summer long.
Yep.
We'll be staying in hotels on weekends, catching the big shows that we want to go to, which hopefully we'll get to hammer on a little bit more of that this year since we don't have to worry about putting our own shit on. But we need some of that, Nebraska. I want, Iowa to get a hold of us. I want to talk about some local shit with you guys. I want to learn. I'm thirsty for knowledge.
You're thirsty. A lot of the guys, I'm going to be dead honest with you, a lot of the guys, they don't like to talk. Do not like to talk.
No. But message me.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I've actually reached out to a lot of the guys that I've tried to get episodes with. Good buddies of mine, good builders, really good builders, good drivers, and they just don't like to talk. Not everybody likes to talk.
Well, and this is kind of an awkward situation. I mean, whenever you first start these podcasts, because I've seen, some of the people that we get on here that are fucking killer stand-up guys will stand and talk to you for 3 hours at a derby. But you throw this microphone in front of them.
They don't like to talk for 30 minutes.
Right.
So.
But I would like some of these out-of-state local promoters. Holler at us. Whether it be your fair board that's putting on derby, I want to know what your rules are.
Yeah.
I want you to talk. It was awesome talking to Jeremy. Whenever he was swimming, talking to us because his house is in the ocean. But that was awesome. Hearing about and our listeners like that shit. Like, they want to know what's going on around the country, too. Because after watching that Gladiator Steel, that East Coast versus West Coast shit, like, that brought, Biggie and Tupac vibes.
Yeah. I mean, just like Siopa actually said, he goes, how you like that? That's some of that East Coast shit.
Right.
I mean, he said it because that's not something that they are used to seeing in Utah. But that's what we call rule interpretation.
Right. Well, and, you had the West Coast, the fucking East Coast is 2 years behind us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'd like to dive into that shit. Somebody get a hold of me. Somebody reach out, talk to us.
Which we've always said we've got a list, kind of an order of what we have for guests.
Whenever an opportunity like that arises, we'll jump on it.
Correct. Yeah. There's a couple guys I'm going to reach out to, Messenger, and one of them is another promoter driver.
Well, I think I'm going to jump on some of these dudes that were in the Gladiator Steel. I'm going to jump in there if they're willing to talk in front of a camera, and the explanations and shit they were giving on there. I want to dig into some of that. I'd like to unfold some of that.
Correct.
I do want to go ahead and start putting in some of the Peoria drivers' heads. We will have our shit out there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Friday after I get done. I would like to record 3 podcasts while we're out there.
Yeah, which we do plan on doing one Sunday before we leave.
100%.
With Chris and Nicole.
Yep.
And Sam.
Yep. And we had talked to him the last time, and they said as long as shit wasn't too hectic,
correct,
they would sit down with us. But no, there's even some of the vendors and shit. If we can get a hold of them and maybe squeeze them down a little bit, I wouldn't mind pinning them down. I know there's going to be some drivers out there that want to talk.
Oh yeah.
And even if we don't do full-blown podcast, maybe we do. Maybe we throw a whole workload on Tanya
and let her edit
and let
3
her
into 1.
Put some shit together. It might just be 4 different drivers, talking for 15 or 20 minutes. Since you are bringing the little dick beater with you, we might, do a little bit of that GoPro action, get a little video footage to put on YouTube.
Yep.
Whether that be, raw video from pits walking around.
I'll go buy GoPro shit. Someone's got to give me their card, though, because that shit ain't cheap.
Well, something you might not know about me. I own 2 of them.
Right,
I've got 2 Hero Blacks.
Them work.
So, and I think we might be able to set you up with one of them fucking chest straps. We'll have him in first person.
Hold on, we're in Peoria. Most of them guys don't like cops, so they're going to think that he is an undercover cop with a body cam footage going, and next thing you know, he's going to get the living shit beat out of him.
Fucking right.
Hey, but we'll have some good footage on it.
We will. What you want to ask him?
All right, let's do this because we kind of broke this episode up a little bit. We've been all over the place. It's been a cool ass episode though. Like we've dug in and talked about some shit that we don't normally talk about, but now I am going to get back into a little bit of the monotonous questions that we ask all of our drivers. How'd you get your number?
How I got my number and how I started derbying are the same story.
Well, then that's going to get 2 birds stoned at once.
Yep.
Or whatever that saying is.
Scott Thomas out of Louisiana, derbied, long time. He's related to me. I hung out at his shop a lot. Guy by the name of Keith Dawson and Alan Brown also hung out with Scott a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So over there at the shop, I'd help Scott do whatever. Set motors, change rear ends, all that stuff. Never really built cars. Watched them. That's about it. Rode with him a couple times. Big George show come to Bowling Green. And it was the Louisiana guys against the Bowling Green guys.
Oh, shit.
A great big showdown. So Scott rounded up, I think, 9 cars, plus Alan, plus Keith. And we started with 62X and went all the way up to 71 or 72X. and we just picked a number, and that's how we started. My very first Derby was a big show at Bowling Green. I believe Alan won it. I believe. I might be wrong there. I went to the junkyard, bought a motor and tranny, got a $200 Lincoln. They had to stop the Derby right off the bat for me because my gas tank fell out of the car through the rust and was dragging on the ground. That was my first car. Had a ton of fun.
That's why we got fuel tank rules.
Yeah. You can thank me later.
Now I'll jump in on this side of it. Now you did run quite a bit whenever, back then.
20-something shows a year.
What was your favorite track?
What was my favorite track? Well, I got to go with Pleasant Hill. It's a whole different experience.
The atmosphere there is crazy.
It doesn't matter if you go to Jacksonville to the Raceway, or you go to Griggsville, or you go to Bowling Green or Avaz.
Because I had a lot of fun at Griggsville too. But the atmosphere between Griggsville and P Hill was the flip of a switch. Because the crowd is so interactive at P Hill, whether it be positive or negative. The crowd, they had a driver in their mind when they come into that show that they were watching, that they wanted to win, and that's who the fuck they were rooting for.
Correct.
I'll tell you a story or two. Number one, Pleasant Hill is a no fucks given derby, period.
I agree.
End of conversation, that's just what it is. I don't remember if it's Brock or Tyler Hill. One of their buddies is mad at him, Les Anderson. When they said, "Are we ready?" they took off from one end of the track and third gear into the back of that car. That guy got so mad he got out on top of his car, yelling and screaming, pointing fingers. They backed up and hit him again. He went flying off the car. I mean, that's just Pleasant Hill. Whether it's the famous Mike Brown and Colt Doyle, in the caddy and the imp. Mm-hmm. Alan. I've seen Alan get in fights. I've seen Keith get in fights just because everything is so intense there. Everything. It is
that atmosphere. Like, they talk about, driving through the tunnel and shit at Blizzard Bash. And I'm not trying to compare a local show to something like that, but that's the type of atmosphere that you walk into whenever you're there. Like, even walking around the pits, I know we're always calling it a derby community or a derby family. The groups, the different groups of drivers in the pits whenever we were over there, it was just insane. Like, you'd have 6 drivers standing over here talking about their strategies on what they were going to do that night, and then another 6 over here, 5 over here. It was just, it was insane. It was fucking crazy.
Yeah. Back in the late 90s, might have been mid-90s, late 90s we'll call it, Scott Thomas was in the Derby, and he's in a old iron, and his wife at the time was riding with him, and he got shoved out of the track a couple times. He finally just got mad. He laid into it, went around the bus barn, and come Mach 10 back in the track and smashed somebody, and his wife ended up out on the hood.
Oh!
Hit that hard. Promoters, I don't know how many times when Pete Johnson was running the show, and then he kind of migrated over a couple shows into Missouri. I think he ran Warrenton for quite a while. I don't know how many times he was out in the middle of the track getting shirt ripped off. It's a whole different atmosphere. It's totally different today. Totally different today than it was 15 years ago. But
I think what I saw from the 2 that I went to this year, the aggressive driver is still there. I mean, just the wide the fuck open. I mean, we sit there and watch Tyler Hill. We watched Brock Hill hit Nice from one end to the other. I mean, it was just badass. But they all got out and shook hands.
Yeah.
10 years ago, that would not fuck that. We're getting it on right here.
Yeah, you were getting it on.
You might have won the Derby, but now it's time to see if he can win his fist fight.
Correct.
Yep.
Alcohol
honestly, definitely played a huge part in that.
Well, honestly, though, we had that shit here.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking Madison was known for brawls.
Always had to have cops because if you weren't fighting on the track, they were fighting in the stands.
Yep.
We're fighting the stands, or fighting in the pits.
And a lot of times it wasn't the men that were doing it.
No.
Right.
No.
For a lot of people, and you can ask Missouri guys, Illinois guys, it doesn't matter. A lot of guys are going to tell you Pleasant Hill. And it's a big track. At one point in time, they liked water, and then they went on a stint where water wasn't even an option. You know, it was kind of like what you guys did. You dusted it, and
Teddy would like that.
But another thing with Pleasant Hill, I'll tell you what makes Pleasant Hill is not only do you have builders, you have drivers.
Mm-hmm.
You take Keith, Alan, Jerry. Jerry's ran there a lot. Mike Brown. Jesus, can he build a car? And he's a 5-speed guy. If he could get in 4th or 5th gear, he would be there.
Correct.
Just a bunch of drivers, people who are smart. Matt Neese started when I ran. We had stock class, you know, the low budget, and that's where he started. And he stayed there for years and years and years. And his foot finally outgrew his cars, is what happened. He's just flat out in them, and he didn't care. But see, he got it from Clayton, his, I believe, uncle. And Clayton was a derbier from back in the 90s when Barefoot was coming over with Stan Weir, and there's a lot of good drivers. Paul Novosel, the Draghi boys, they would come up from
440
Calhoun.
himself.
Not a drop.
Not a drop of paint.
They would come up. Now Paul likes to paint. Paul likes that black and green.
I'm just telling you that Micah lives in Missouri, but still that Illinois mentality.
Correct.
I mean, just from me building out here, I've noticed, you know, the build style, the attitude toward the sport, and all that is for sure that Illinois feel. He is going to catch a fuckload of Illinois scrutiny when he paints this fucking car.
Especially being that the roof sign matches the car.
Yeah.
Not a drop.
I would not put any paint on that car.
Oh, it's not only getting paint, it's going to the paint booth, it's getting sanded down, it's getting primered, it's getting holes filled in, it's getting the treatment.
Sounds like Derek Shelley when he paints his cars.
So, man, we appreciate you letting us come out to the shop, hanging out with you, you know, seeing all this aftermarket stuff. Like I said, you can get on JM Derby Products right on Facebook. I think you can order directly from there. It'll go right in contact with you, whether it's bumpers, lower cradles, switch boxes, centers, full centers, lip protectors.
And honestly, I probably wouldn't be scared to message him about something that you don't see on there.
Correct.
We're getting ready to start something nobody does. I've had a lot of interest in it.
Don't tell him yet. Don't tell him. Wait for a great big announcement.
This is it.
Okay, he's announcing it right here.
Right here.
Hold on a second. Hold on.
Good beer right there, boy.
Ultra.
Good beer.
Steven's donated me a motor. We're going to start building Mopar cradles.
Oh, shit.
Yes, Mopar, Steve.
So that will facilitate the 318s, the 340s, and the 360s.
Yep.
And there's another part that I'm working on myself that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and it's going to happen. They make them. They're expensive. But an adapter plate to run a GM
transmission off of a Mopar engine.
And that's in the works now. Because I'm going to catch all kinds of shit out of Whiskey City.
All kinds of shit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not even ready for it. I think I'm more nervous about that than I am the Derby.
Yeah, not once has he talked about the Derby yet.
He hasn't. No.
He keeps talking about that drive line, though.
Well, we'll announce what it is in the very near future. Let's put it that way. So
I'll start it for him.
Well, dude, we appreciate you, like I said, letting us hang out, catching up with, what you got going on.
The fucking P Hill history, that's cool. That's that shit we like. That's the shit our listeners like.
Oh, I get, and the thing with Pleasant Hill, there's hours of it.
Yes. Yeah. You can.
And if anybody is wanting to authenticate his stories, all you got to do is type in P Hill on YouTube, the Demolition Derby, and you can see
go
some
watch
shit.
that crazy shit.
Watch it. Start in the fucking 90s and start heading this direction.
Yep, because I think it goes all the way up to 10, 11, and 12, somewhere in there.
And now I would say Austin's shit
is going to be on. Is
a lot of Austin's is already on it.
Yeah. So, you got any last words?
We'll see you next week.
Make junk, boys.